should we commence to start?
Yeah.
V, I don't think we ever figured out our goofy intro because I feel like we tried at one point to do the welcome.
Yeah, we just stole.
Out of yes, which I did accidentally steal and use in another setting. But yeah, we just kick it off.
We just chat.
We just get right into it. We don't have time. Our 29th episode of what is loosely being thought of as the conclusion of season 1.
Yes, which is crazy. Also, long season. Go us.
I know, exactly.
Substantial.
All these streaming places have, they fire off 8 episodes and they think they've done a season. Ha!
Try 28, 29.
28. I know,
28 conclusion. I'm proud of us. That's a lot. A lot of like conversations to have, things to listen to, people to learn from. There's a lot in a beautiful way. And it just feels like, thinking about where we came from with Sai, our first guest, to now, comfort level, expectation of conversations, where we're able to go and get to. It's so crazy.
Yes. Well, even the behind the scenes, I forget, did we ever talk about it? I think we did talk about it. How on the idea of doing this, that I couldn't overcome my paralysis of just opening the boxes.
True.
And so I was like, I need to do this. I want to do this. We should do this. I need to do this. I want to do this. But I just couldn't get myself to do it. And then you were like, just open the boxes of the podcast equipment.
Yeah.
And
just look at them.
That started in January into February. And then we lined up a few guests who were so incredibly kind to just jump on this thing early. April Soderstrom, Sai, Tina, Jelinek. We had another Tina later, but they were awesome in that they just were like, yes, let's do it. And Megan Joyce also was like, yes. And shout out to anyone, and I hope I have a chance to do this, but people that jump on the thing that's unproven, but they just, for whatever, I don't know, they believe in the idea. Maybe they believe in the person. Maybe they're like, I don't know, this seems fun.
Why not? Yeah.
Every business has that first quote guest or customer or whatever it is who's like, yeah, I'll try this. And can't do it without that.
Yeah.
They're the equivalent of our first dollar bill that I should put on the
hang
wall.
Photos of them behind us. Just Sai smiling, Tina smiling, Megan smiling. Yeah. I know. I feel like there was no convincing them of this is what it was truly a rough elevator pitch. I don't even know. Did we have the one pager at that point to give? I don't think so.
We had the summary pitch overall and sort of thematic questions. Oh, we did have the brief because Sai was our first interview and we were very okay, question number 1.
Yes.
Then question number 2.
But even that, and she's like, yeah, sure, I'll do this. That feels very...
I know. And
unknown.
You remember that episode was, obviously there was a lot built up around that first interview because we did 3, just you and me chatting about
right.
Oh.
Yeah. Night
bitch. And then we talked about shrinking, which is coming back. Vacuums. We talked about vacuums. Oh, we talked about Peter Pan. Yeah, we had a whole thought of doing, I don't know, picking apart pop culture moments that have mother context.
Which
and
still
then,
love.
Yes. And then we had Sai, our very first interview. Woohoo. And then, I was trying to remember, it was February and it was nearly ruined by an unexpected snowstorm or whatever, a large snowstorm, and schools potentially being closed.
Yes.
And Sai was like, and we're still going to do it. She was wonderfully committed to really trying to make it happen. And it's one of those things when there's so much hang up of just trying to the anticipation of getting things going. And then you're just this has to happen. If we had to punt that one, I don't know what would have happened.
Would have been really tough. Yeah.
I'm sure he would have come around and done it later.
Sure.
But, that was huge. Sai, thank you so much.
Yes.
And also she set such a tone of she's so reflective, so smart, so wise. In many ways seems like she's been in the rat race, but has so much sort of distance from the rat race and can kind of give her own opinions on it versus have to be driven by it, which I'm sure is not always true and maybe never true, but it seems that way.
Yeah.
So she sets such a nice tone for like the nature of the conversations that we want to have.
Yeah. A lot of like, I remember walking away, whatever, closing the laptop, that conversation and feeling similar to like, honestly, like when you have a kid and you like your first baby and you're like, I don't know how to be a mom. I don't know what I'm doing. And they teach you. I feel like she taught us how to like ask the questions or show up and listen. And I feel like a lot of our guests have done that. Like if there was like confusion or like unknowns or just like, I don't know how to ask these questions or how are we going to lead into these things? They've kind of taught us like how to get there.
Yeah.
So that's kind of a cool, beautiful.
Yeah. Yeah.
Cool, beautiful thing.
Totally. And they also like, as you were saying this, I was going back to when you were like the early folks, there wasn't like a lot of convincing that we had to do.
Yeah.
Just in general, I mean, there are guests that are harder to find than, or harder to get than others. But overall, I've been both relieved, like logistically, it makes life easier, but also relieved and encouraged by how so many of our guests are like eager to have this conversation and like eager to have people ask them these types of questions and eager to basically be like, is it about me now? Finally, can I tell you what I've learned and what I think about how to build a career and a family and how I'm doing. And that's been both, I mean, such validation, I think, for like the nature of the work that we're doing, but also it makes it feel useful and not like something we're pushing on people, but it's something that people are eager to get out there. So that's nice.
Yeah.
Yeah. Do you have any favorite guests? We love all of our guests, but I'm just curious if
it's so interesting because I feel like my takeaways and like my experiences with everyone are so different. Where like some, I found myself getting emotional and like tearing up listening to like their bravery or the like obstacles that they've had to deal with. Or some I'm just like, what the fuck? How do you do that? Like, I just simply can't comprehend how you've done, like, been able to accomplish. Yeah. So I don't know. It feels like not right to be like my favorite because in a beautiful way, I've been able to like absorb and get inspired by everybody. And I feel like I always leave conversations still thinking about it for the rest of the day of like, how the fuck, like we are really amazing. Similar to like after giving birth when I was like, I feel like women should just be like, all the time. Like, I'm like, we're just like walking amongst like crazy, accomplished, brave, badass people all the time. And like, that should be acknowledged more. So I don't know. Is there like a favorite that stands out to you?
I mean, I think similarly, that's like all your children. You don't have a favorite. You can't possibly have a favorite.
How do you choose? Yeah.
I agree with you that across all of them, there is this, I don't know, joyful resilience that that exists of all of them feel drawn to do the work that they are doing. Like they're being in some ways pulled to it. They're not pushing themselves to it. And yet it's obviously very hard because they're also being pulled to their kids and they're being like pulled to themselves and like, and their partners where they have them. And so pulled in lots of directions, but I feel like a lot of them have, well, either, of course, many of them have done this like deep self-reflection as to like, who am I and why am I doing this? And where does work show up and align with my identity? And why do I need it for that reason? And same as taking on the role of being a mother. And then there are many others who are like, never thought about that. And wow, I've never thought about that question. What a question. And in some ways can move more freely through the world because they're like, I don't really think of it as this, everything doesn't have to be so deep.
Right.
And I'm doing work that I find joyful and I really enjoy doing the work. And is it a pain in the ass to find a way to make sure the kids get enough love and attention? And is it impossible? Is work travel impossible? And probably the worst part of it. And are these like crazy stories, but also I wouldn't necessarily want it any other way. And I think that's like a really nice reminder from people that are doing such high performers in a work setting and still have the messiness, are carrying the messiness with them. I do think, I mean, I definitely really loved Lexi Reese's interview because it had such practical advice.
Very
like she's
tangible.
Someone who, in my mind, very classic Google of now and certainly Google of old, where it's these true humans of the world who are experiencing and noticing and moved by the world and are processing what it means for them and everyone in their universe, and are able to move from feelings and emotions and philosophies into very practical actions in order to like sort of move forward. They're like the perfect combination of therapists and COO. Or just like,
sure.
So I think one of the things that I really enjoyed about her, there are many nuggets, but I think one that still sticks with me is her idea of like operating at 70% or 80, whatever is less than 100%, and how that's still going to be better than anyone else's 100%. Right. And to hear someone of the caliber of Lexi Reese to say something like that, I hope that gives a lot of people permission to adopt that philosophy. And for people to take it not as like, it's so easy. I think even as I'm saying out loud, it's like, well, okay, so then everyone's going to be like lazy and half-assing it. And I think the point is for some people, that half-assing it is actually still crushing it. So
it's still full-assing.
Yes.
A full
It's like moon. It's basically a trick to your own, tricking yourself into being a little less rigorous about things. And finding out that it's still okay. So Lexi was great in that regard. I feel like Megan Joyce was the first one that like really we expanded beyond the question A, B, C, D, E, and it became much more of a conversation and moving through the world and trying to figure out the role of work and life. And I think she, for me, is someone who very much unlocked this. I said this in the episode and still think about it, but I'm someone who always thought, well, what I should do and what I should be doing now and what I should want to do is what Megan's doing. Like, I should run a large tech startup. I should be GM of Uber or some form of a Google office or something like that. I should have gone to business school. I should have done all these things. And for whatever reason, I've done a version of some of those, but certainly haven't done those things. And what was really helpful for her to tell me was like, she's like, I really like those things. I was like, right. I think that's something that I just didn't really appreciate, just because you can.
Doesn't
like
mean,
her, she loves showing up at a board meeting.
Yeah.
And I was like, I think that, I mean, maybe if this media becomes a media empire and there's a board meeting that is built on stuff that I really get and I care for.
Right.
But showing up at a Google board meeting, like, I don't know.
I don't think some I would really like that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Executive meeting. Like, I think maybe to that point, it's like, are you of the thing that you're doing? Do you feel like are you fluent in that language, whatever it is that your business is? But it was just really nice to see Megan be like, I actually really like this and I find it enjoyable and I'm good at it, which I think it contributes to liking it. And that was a nice, for me, the closest was remembering back to my sort of athletic career and how there was a way that I loved and yet hated, but I loved fitness and I loved the big games and I loved all these things because it was something I was capable of. And the input had an output that showed progress. And just sort of athleticism in the corporate world is something that maybe I have a different flavor of that like doesn't naturally translate. So leaving that interview, I felt less like I failed and more like I'm different.
Totally.
Which is good.
Yeah. I feel like, I don't know, you have a finite amount of like energy and output and time in this world. And I just feel like fuck doing what you think you're supposed to do or have to do. And like choosing, I mean, you even leaving Google and being like, I'm going to go against that was so hard. And like, you finally get to be selective about where you put your energy. Like, I think consciously choosing to do that, not doing it because you feel like you have to, or because this is the right thing to do, or like, I need to do this in order to get to XYZ, but doing it because it's like, this genuinely feels good. Like, I believe in this and I want to do this. Not like, I think I should, or this looks good to other people.
Totally.
Who cares?
Yeah.
Like, I don't know.
Which brings me to Laura Green.
Oh, Laura. Yeah.
She in many ways, a lot of the women we spoke to, mothers we spoke to, are I think a lot of them are forging their own path. I think what I enjoy about Laura was that it's very, especially for people that are stuck in New England, Greater Boston, let alone Cambridge, to break the mold and be like, I'm going to make people laugh and I'm going to be funny and I'm going to do it on the internet and I'm going to be like an influencer. And I feel like that's just a nice, and she's vocalized it, I'm sure, because she's her, it doesn't ever really go that deep. But I think that is a tension that she experiences, which is like, do I have a real job? But then also the disbelief of like, this is a real job.
Yeah.
And I think she brings such, I don't know, the idea of like needing conviction in what you're doing and how much that allows you to just lean into it and be less concerned about what other people think. And also the confidence to know I can always go back and do something else. For her, I could always go back and be a physical therapist. Or even with Tamara, former product director at Pinterest. She said this very clearly too, where she was like, I have a chance to do this other thing that's, quote, risky, whatever that means. And I'm going to trust myself that like, if this no longer is the path, like I can go back and get a job. Like I can go back and do that other thing. So I think, and even in that is like a reclaiming of a career path and saying
100%.
It's not even stepping off. I'm going to step in this other direction for a little bit and see what that's like. So yeah, they're all great. Who else was great? Erica Dombach, coach, classically. I loved, she was the first one where we were like, what could have made it easier, this like journey of motherhood along the way. And she was like, it was like a long pause. And I think we like cut some of it. So it was like 10 seconds of silence and looking and like pondering and like the thinking forehead. And she goes, it's not supposed to be easy. I was like,
so good.
Good job. Yes. Yes.
Correct.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
I think that also goes back to like what mothers do and parents certainly in general are doing. But for this, like mothers are embracing the hard and moving along anyway and finding joy in what they're doing. Like if you think of like Jessica Gelman, who's, you know, running the craft analytics group, Kager is easier to say. She's carrying a shit ton and is saying yes to everything and is saying yes to all these joyful things that make life totally chaotic. But she's like
her
moving
friends,
through
her
this
family,
impossibility.
Everything.
Yeah. And what else? Oh, another theme I really liked so far is it's all a little bit related, but the defining your own enough or constantly evaluating what is, quote, enough. And I think in some ways just getting rid of that term, but for the point of making this point, they're like, I don't know, I think of Mary Ting Hyatt and Bagelsaurus, which shout out to them. They just won like
Hell
New York Times.
They're on that
I think
list.
they've won it many times, but
of course,
list of best restaurants in Boston, according to the New York Times, Bagelsaurus. But yeah, the idea of like, she's like, well, I could open up more stores, but then I also wouldn't be able to be present in them. And I wouldn't be able to like have personal connections to them. And I'd probably get pulled out of the kitchen. I wouldn't be able to like be baking. And that's the part that I enjoy.
Yeah.
And kind of what is your enough? And also Tina Matera, I think of her forever as Tina McDavitt, but Tufts field hockey coach, like incredibly successful coach, Division III. Could she be feeling like, I should be, my path I need to like continue to excel and strive and grow. And that means Division I, like that should be my end goal. Yeah. And she's like, no, I want to have my life. I want to control my life. I want to be able to have balance. And she wouldn't even, I don't know if she would say it was balance, but like she really enjoys what she has and doesn't feel forced or like she needs to be doing more in order to have more. And I think even on the money front, she was like, yeah, I could be D1 making some more money. But I think also reasonably for her, the income difference between D1 and D3 is not as dramatic as it probably should be.
Yeah.
And on top of that, you have so much travel and it's a year-round experience, whereas D3 is a little more seasonal, intense in the seasons, but then you sort of do have an off season. And I love it. She's like, yeah, would I love to like have redone my bathroom? Is my bathroom disgusting? Yeah. But like, I also want to go to Europe. So I'm going to do that. And I just think that's like such a nice, important, again, sort of like reclaiming control of like, we don't need to have all these things.
Yeah.
And the idea of like having it all is just sort of seeing what you have differently.
Yeah. I was going to say, going off of that kind of like rejection of those expectations or standards. Something I really loved about many of our conversations were people rejecting questions, or so Sai was the like our first conversation.
What we asked her? Yes. What we asked was, it was the question of, is there a way that being a mom or being a mother has made you more effective at work?
Yes, that's what it was.
And she was like, I reject the premise of this because these are two entirely different activities. Yes. They are not intended to serve each other. Right. Like measuring mothering and caregiving in a capitalist, like through a capitalist lens is incorrect and not what it's intended to do. And I was like, yeah,
shit.
Yeah, Harvard.
Yeah. Gonna cross that off the list because you're right. Absolutely.
Way to think for yourself.
Like that was so awesome. Or so I was confusing the question with when Bess's answer to having it all was like, I have my mental health. And when people like take these questions and totally like flip it or reject it or like have an answer that I'm like, whoa, like it seems so obvious when they say it, like Sai's answer, it's like, yeah, you're so right. Or like your mental health, like that's so right. Like, of course.
Yeah.
The rejection of like, Mary, of like, could I have more stores? Yes, but I'm not going to. Or like, I could go and continue to do this other thing, but like, I'm not going to say yes to everything because not everything deserves my time.
Yeah.
And it's so cool to hear these people say that. And like,
totally.
Oh, that's how you think. And it's still working out for you. I think that was a really cool thing.
Yeah, for sure.
Hearing unexpected answers and hearing that like, it's still okay.
Absolutely.
Also, another thing kind of going off the Bess's response.
Yeah.
It was really beautiful and comforting and cool to hear pretty much everyone touch on the importance of like mental health, taking care of yourself, showing up for yourself, whether like in career and parenting and relationships. And I thought that was like so beautiful and important. We had like, even, was it Laura or Tina who mentioned like talking to your partner before having your baby of like, here's signs of postpartum depression.
Oh yeah, that was Laura. Yes, totally.
And like just shit like that where it's like, damn, everyone does and can struggle. No one's immune to it. And like we all, Mary acknowledged it. We need our third thing. And like, how are you going to take care of yourself and show up for yourself? And like, I think that is something that we like to think that we talk about enough, but we really don't. And there's so much shame in feeling like we have to have it like carry this all and just be okay with it.
Yeah.
So that's cool.
I want to say like 80%. I don't know. I don't have the math in front of me, but it felt like the majority of people either casually mentioned or went deep on postpartum depression and anxiety. And many of them were like, and shout out to Zoloft. Like how many, and it's funny because I think when I walk through the world, I feel those things are like fairly normalized now.
Totally.
But I think to Laura's point, we don't know what we don't know before we've had that experience. So educating yourself and people around you to identify it and then be able to sort of, speaking from my own experience postpartum, which I probably could have used medication and maybe in general I could use medication, but when you're on the other side, especially if you're my personality, you don't want that help. You don't someone saying you are struggling and you might need medication or however you might say it would make me feel like threatened and under
like you're
appreciated and hurt. Yeah. And be like, no, I can do it. Cause I have such an individual and a lot of our guests had this.
Right.
So I think knowing ahead of time what to look out for and kind of pre-agreeing, like almost like signing up. It's like, what's your
accountability
healthcare proxy or something where it's like, if you're incapacitated, who can decide whether to remove
your living
the arm?
will. This is your living will.
Yes. So I think that's a really, really good point. And then, I think so many people just saying we did it and we tried it. And so many also acknowledging like there are these whatever side effects to think about. And a lot of the things that scare mothers, because it's like, okay, if I do this and I don't know, how does it affect my like the breastfeeding or how does it transfer into my child and all these things? And it's like those risks, do your own research. But for so many, those risks are so small compared to
far
the importance of your own mental health.
I know.
So
even
it's a really good point.
Yeah, I have been on Zoloft for quite some time. And even I think I feel so passionate about the inclusion of these conversations and all of our discussions, but also then in your day-to-day life of like normalizing taking medicine, because when I was pregnant, I continued to take my medicine. And even within the medical system, there was like, okay, well, when you give birth, or like you have to have the NICU team, and there's going to be a few extra people in the room in case XYZ happens because of your Zoloft. And it's like, don't make me feel bad for like, do you want me to be alive and have the baby, or do you want me like, so I think the more that we talk about this and have the conversations, just knowing like that's something that I didn't even know was going to happen until like, I don't know, probably the week before. And I was like, whoa, 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 what do you mean? Felt like this punishing thing of like, oh, because you took Zoloft, like something. And then, you know, you research it and like you said, do your own research. But in my research, it's like the chances of something happening are honestly greater if you don't take the medicine to me. So I thought it was just so cool and comforting to hear people who, I don't know, I admire or want to be like, and then I'm like, oh, you take medicine too? Or like, oh, you go to therapy, whatever. And it's just so normalized. It's like, of course. So that, I don't know. I know it sounds cliche, but that has always been from like every conversation, a takeaway that I'm just like, feels really good to hear other people talk
totally
about that.
And I think kind of behind that too, and the willingness of folks to share this and also take the medication if recommended. Like there's something about a lot of our guests where there's a, I don't know, healthy sense of what they themselves deserve as humans too. I think I didn't pick up on a lot of self-sacrificing orientation among these mothers. Like there were healthy boundaries. They had their own needs that they were like largely in touch with. They were aware of their children's needs but they weren't going to drop their own necessarily to like make sure their kid is okay. And similarly on the work side, they're aware of what work needs, but also how that sits with what they individually need. Same with partners and spouses. And it doesn't mean that they always made, I don't know, boundaries, such a whatever woo-woo term right now, but I feel like it doesn't mean that they always honored those
executed
things,
it perfectly.
It seemed like they felt in a very healthy way entitled to spending their time the way they were spending their time. And I think a lot of them, I feel like one of my crusades is to get rid of like the idea of mom guilt. I think there are places where mom guilt might be a more appropriate term, like not appropriate, but as a term that it's like, I don't know, feeling guilty that you forgot to dress your kid in red for Red Day.
Yeah.
Like there's something about that I sort of understand a little bit of the guiltness. Like it feels a little bit like paper cut guilt, and that's its own problem. And why is it always the mother that's trying to remember this? And why are we having Red Day anyway? But I feel like the macro mom guilt of where I'm not, my whole life is I'm not necessarily spending my time and brain space and energy where I feel like I'm supposed to around my kids.
Yeah.
I feel like that part feels like the guilt is listen to what the guilt is saying to you. Cause I think maybe the guilt is saying not so much don't spend your time away from your kids, but there could be other activities or other lines of work or other ways of working that might make you feel more entitled and empowered to be spending your time in those spaces where you wouldn't feel, well, you'd feel less guilty because you're getting something back more from the nature of the work that you're doing that allows you to be like, I'm sorry I'm missing this concert, or I'm sorry I'm missing this like whatever thing that is not nothing, but I'm sorry I'm missing that. But I'm also really grateful that I have this chance to do this other thing. And I'm mostly there for the other stuff with the kids. Or I think even Jess Gelman mentioned this. She's like, as our kids got older, and she was like, you need to be careful how much control you give them, but also having the conversation openly with your kids of like, there's a lot going on. I love the work I do. I of course love you more. I can't be in two places at once. What are the things that are really important to you, child, for me to show up at? Like, does it really matter if I'm on the sidelines at this, I don't know, game or not? And I'm sure it would, but like, I don't know, a little bit just being more open and less like no one's doing anything wrong. I think like that's part that I want people to help. I want to help people pass through. And I think a lot of our guests sort of did this too, where like no one's doing anything wrong by not being able to be everywhere at the same time.
Yeah.
Like we're making choice. Like that's the nature of life. So, and I think that's then like, are your individual choices feeling true to what you want and need? And then you don't feel quite as like pulled maybe.
Yeah. God, that's such an interesting, I'm wondering if there could be and will be and should be like a shift in that dialogue. I think I forgot about her mentioning that, but now that you say that, I remember just talking about like having that conversation with her kids, because in the past few weeks, I've heard multiple people from older, like my parents' generation, talk about like, oh yeah, my parents never came to my place at school, whatever. And I was like, damn, that really like fucked you up. Like there's still thoughts and feelings about it. But I wonder if that was because we just didn't talk about it. It just was what it was. And there was no acknowledgement of it or whatever. It was just like not showing up and then not talking about it after the fact.
Yeah, that's true.
But how much like trauma recovery there could be if it's like explaining why and then like showing the way, like talking about the ways that we do show up, or like what time matters to your kids. And obviously that doesn't happen when they're younger. It's into like probably, I don't know, elementary school where you can have those things. But that's such an interesting thing that I hope and think could happen is like, I don't know. We've talked about this, but like so much of parenting is like fixing generational trauma from our end and making sure that our kids don't experience it, and then probably like creating new ones for them. So maybe we would get rid of that and then cause something else of like, my parents were too over communicative and they just told me everything. I don't know.
Yes, exactly.
Like, probably that'll be an issue, but yeah, that's an interesting thing. I think I'm still in the like, I feel guilty if I take too long taking a shower or whatever, but it's interesting because I know I would never put that on somebody else. Like when I hear all these mom stories, like I'm not like, you're selfish. I'm like, fuck yeah. So remembering for all of us that like we deserve that too. Everybody deserves that. And like if you would cheer someone else on for doing it, then like you should do that as well. Yeah. It's hard though. It's hard to do.
Totally. I feel like one other theme that comes to mind consistently is around community and the need for and want for more of a village approach to supporting families and kids and like feeling connected and not feeling alone. And like, I almost feel like it's such a known thing without any good solution. And
like,
also,
hey.
And I think compounded by, I think all of the mothers were like, well, if I, like one thing that for the mothers where their kids are older, like kind of moving out of the house, that's when, like, I think of Rana talking about this and so panelist Sonia Tuckett too, Bess talked about this, where there's suddenly like your time opens up a little bit more and you can reinvest in friendships. And that for almost everybody, the thing that falls off the list while you're like in it with young kids is friendships. And yet the thing that we also all really want is community. And I feel like the places where people got that were from their families. Like it really wasn't, it was a rare I think of Tracy Skelly being like, my family moved in with me. I think of Lindsay Gittins, whose mom truly does live with her. Who else felt like they had good family? The one exception, I guess, Laura Green. I'm sure there are others, but Laura Green did talk a lot about how she has a friend neighborhood situation. But, and I guess Betsy Riley of Swell. Yes. She, and her whole, even from her like work, what she does for work is about community building and building communities. It's about building communities and community building, both of those things.
They're different.
She's one who was like, go show up, like bring the pie and like show up at the house and like storm in there. But I do think that there is some way, I hadn't thought about it until now. That doesn't mean that this is the right solve, but it seems like the key that most naturally fits in that hole we're looking for is in theory what family and grandparents are. Like you're supposed to be there as opposed to friends where it's like, of course I wouldn't like expect you to sacrifice your own fun to help me. Do you know what I mean? Like I think there's maybe it's duty. Like I feel like within the context of family, again, in theory, this is not necessarily family in America, but it's a lot to ask. The level of support that I think people are looking for around and community around kids, especially when they're young. I think it can be, I don't know, maybe it's phases, but I think it's just interesting that family was the one where they were like most naturally, like they were just there and they knew what to do and they really stepped in. I feel like the nature of friends and community and connection is more also incredibly powerful and useful, but it becomes a little bit more companionship and like you're not alone. But I feel like the actual help of doing the things is where family comes in, or you have the financial resources to pay for it.
Yeah, that's interesting. I was going to say, I don't know that I necessarily have that. And so I think that actually for me, it is like the moms groups, the friends, the people and the relationships that I've like nurtured in my life, that like, I don't think of it as transactional or, I'm doing this so that later in the line you could do that. It's just like, oh, of course. Like, of course I would do that for you. Or like, of course I'm going to ask that. So I don't know. I think it's like
but they're not coming over to your apartment and taking your child and cleaning your apartment.
No, but no one is.
But that's what these families do. That's what Tracy's aunt is doing. That's what Lindsay Gitten's mom is doing. That's what I mean. Is like I think there's like a way that, again, it's like depends on your family circumstance. Like I think that's what, even culturally, I feel in other places, like I don't know, isn't this in China? Mother like doesn't even come home. Like the first year the child is like with the grandparents. The delivering mom is like not even a part of it.
Yeah.
I just feel like there's some way, I don't know. And because I agree, I'm not saying that friends are transactional, but I do think that there's a selflessness that theoretically fits the description of what one might be able to borderline sort of look for from family that is hard to expect from friends. And then short of that, you get joy and connection and camaraderie from friend community. And then otherwise you pay for help.
Yeah.
Or you do it yourself. So I just think, I don't know. I was just thinking about like everyone wants this community and support. And that's like number one answer for what would have made it easier or things you wish you'd had. But like, how does that, if everyone wants it, why isn't everyone having it, getting it, doing it, finding a way to build it?
Yeah. I feel like it used to be like, we were not meant to have kids alone. Like you were meant to have these villages and these communities and like you'd have people there. Like you were never meant to feel like you had to do this all by yourself. But then I think that like society and finances and economy and all this shit just like got in the way. And now everyone's kind of like, I have to have my own back. Like I don't have time to have more people's backs. Like how I can hardly like stay afloat. How am I supposed to like help everyone else?
Right.
Because it is true. Like everyone wants it, but like, I don't know, it's not as easy as just like, oh, I want community. Okay, cool. And then it just happens. It does take nurturing and seeking and even still it's not perfect, but yeah, I don't know. I'm thinking about like in Europe, the systems are set up much more like you have a night nurse that comes for the first like month and it's just like a mandatory, like the country just provides this for you. And it's just, of course you're going to have this. And oh, they have like support with, whatever. So I don't know. Yeah.
Well, that's interesting. So it's like grandparents or government support. Like I feel like there's some, in some ways they sort of fit a similar like social welfare offering of it's something that like everyone, I mean, it's like healthcare, the thing that should be just a human right. I feel like that's, I don't know, in some way that's that's what we're doing with our young kids right now is we're giving them that. And I feel like maybe that's what parenting is. It's we talk about like how it's the safety net of society are mothers and fathers, but largely mothers. And so here we are doing it for ourselves. So like maybe, of course, we would then expect on the other side too, once your own kids are grown, grandparents are stepping in again, which I'm not saying that's not necessarily fair for them. I just do think and I'm curious, we didn't get Lindsay Gitten's mom on there, but I think she's very proud and enjoys her role and being so like present and participating and helping to raise Lindsay's kids. But
I'd be very curious to talk with grandparents about that of like expectation versus choice of doing it. Cause like, I know I've definitely talked to mom friends who are like either have like their parent support and they watch the kids and they come on the weekends and then the parents get to go away, like whatever. But then also alternatively, the people who are like, ugh, like we live so close to our grandparents and they never want to watch the kids and they're always traveling and they're always doing this and doing that. And it's like, but is that a wrong choice either? Like, no. So like what obligation, like just because you decided to have kids, does that mean that your parents then have to like choose to step in? Like, not necessarily. So I don't know. That's an interesting, I'd be very curious to ask, like, to talk with grandparents.
Well, I think like Tracy talked very much about how just culturally the attitude towards children was that these are our children.
Totally.
Like, this is not, and I think that's what, so it's almost like there's some families and cultures that have it's like a whole different philosophy about this, where this isn't like an like it's, I don't know, it goes beyond, it's like, yeah, I would feed, whatever it is that makes you want to feed your child.
Yeah.
Is that an obligation? Do you think of that as an obligation? Whatever however you would define that, both interest and obligation to show up. Like, I feel like that's what in some cultures there's a willingness to do that.
Totally. Yeah.
That's different.
Yeah. I would be, I mean, I'm sure just with everything else, different people would have different answers. Like, I'm sure there's some people who are going to be like, I had my child and I went through the parenting and now I'm choosing to live my own life because for so long, like, it wasn't about me. And now I get to like do that.
Yes.
And then like,
yes,
that's valid.
For sure.
Like, I don't know. And so, but then there's also some people who are like, yes, I had my child and then now they have children. And like, I'm so fucking excited to like show up. And like, for many of them, it's like invigorating and gives them energy and like they live longer because they're like having a youthful energy, you know? So like, I don't know. I'm sure there would be such a variety of responses, reactions, and I don't think either one is right or wrong. It would just be very interesting. And some people who have like probably fantastic balance, you know, like they're very involved and they're very helpful and they're going out and doing their own thing.
Yeah. Well, I think that what a lot of these, like, there are many articles that have been like talking about the role of grandparents. I do think the major piece of it too is just the economic reality of it takes, like, a lot of grandparents are still working because they don't have, they don't have enough money and there's no, like, they've had to drain their retirement funds. So they're going to work until they're in the grave. Like, I just think there's there's a lot that has to happen for the grandparents to be in a circumstance in which they can show up. I don't know. But I do feel like it is interesting where that support is there and why. Yeah. And are people actually happy? I don't know. Tracy was like, I hate that they put everything away. They put all my dishes away in the wrong place.
Or like the refrigerator is put back in the wrong way. But it's like, okay, but you're still here. So I'm thankful you're trading one thing for another, I guess. Like with everything you are.
Yes. Yeah. Yes, totally. Man. Well, we've learned a lot.
We have.
I feel like even just on the tech of all of it, it's been really interesting to figure out just thinking about reflections on the process.
Headphones aren't as important as we thought they were for our guests.
For guests. Yeah.
Riverside.
Or if you have them, make sure they're corded.
Yes.
Yeah. A lot of the technology, us figuring out different microphones and different headphones and figuring out different backgrounds. Yes. I actually have pictures behind me as opposed to a tarp, which is sort of better. And a lot of like even just us figuring out the co-host host dynamic, like how do we have conversations with like the right share of airtime and get guests moving along within a limited period of time.
I know. Somehow an hour is not enough.
Yeah. And I know we went back and forth also on do we toggle back and forth between interviews and us riffing on things, or do we do straight interviews? And I think we've moved into a phase of straight interviews, but yeah. Oh, and also grappling with like, what is the definition of mothers? And like, when we say these are the mothers, who are we talking about? And wanting to think of that in an expansive way and yet also honor what the core is of that term. So yeah, I don't know. I feel like we've come a long way.
We have.
Come a long way, baby.
We've learned a lot. Like,
and now you have a 1-year-old who like can't sit on your lap anymore. So we're gonna like figure out what that means for everybody.
Crazy. I know.
Yes.
What a wild, fast, weird year it's been. And look at us now. Wrapping up the season. I love this.
Exactly. Yeah. I'm so grateful to you for getting this off the ground. I feel like you launched our family and now you've launched this podcast. You were there in the beginning.
Thanks for having me be a part. It's been fun. I know, that is crazy. Aw.
I know.
Look at us go.
Yeah, totally. All right. Well, should we wrap it with your addition, your whole concept of joyfulness? Where's your joyfulness? Any thoughts?
My joyfulness has been amongst all the chaos in the last few weeks. I have gotten to see so much family, and like people have really showed up for us. We had a birthday celebration, and just like, I don't know, it's been like chaotic and a lot of stuff going on. And that's exactly why we came back here, was to like have that chaos and like to be able to be around family and to spend this quality time with people. So that's been fun. And I feel really lucky about that. And on a more surface level, it's starting to get a little cooler out and it feels really fucking good. Like the air feels like fall today. And so that is my like surface level joy.
The air really did feel like fall today. I'm glad that was joyful to you. That was sad for me.
Oh, why?
When the air changes like that and the sunlight is slightly different, I'm like, oh God, we have to go back to school.
That's so interesting.
It's the end of summer.
Maybe I'll feel that way when my kid's older. But in this moment, I'm like, we could go on walks and not be like sweaty.
Yes, that's true too.
We went on 3 long walks the other day because it was cold, like cool enough to do so. And I was like, this fucking rocks. Like, yeah, I'm not a summertime gal. So yeah, that's my joy. Sarah, what about you?
My joy is that we're going to do an actual proper family vacation week, the end of August before back to school, which is funny. Actually, our oldest quoted this to me. He subscribes. Well, I do, and he gets it. But we subscribe to this magazine called The Week, which I actually really recommend anyone that's listening who has children who can read, who are probably 8 to 12 years old. Maybe 8's a little young, but precocious 8-year-old to 12 to 13-year-old. It's a weekly magazine. It's like Time magazine for kids, basically.
Amazing.
Time magazine.
Like highlights, kind of?
It's better. It's more newsy, journalistic than highlights. But so it's like kind of themes in the news that week, and also has funny facts. And he was reading the back to school one. He was like, did you know that I'm butchering the exact number, but something like only 16% go back to school after Labor Day or something. And so our school district is probably in that percentage, but I didn't realize, of course, being where we are, I always assumed that was like the norm, but it's much more common to go back to school in August, but also get out of school.
I didn't know that.
Much earlier in June. Yeah. It's a very New England thing to go back.
I was going to say New England. I'm like, I definitely went after Labor Day. Like Labor Day was like our last hurrah usually. And then it was like, okay, school.
Is hurrah really a word? What is hurrah?
I don't know.
It was our last hurrah?
Like hurrah. Like our last like.
Hurrah?
Like, I don't know. Is that not? I feel like that is like
our last hurrah?
I don't know. I feel
like our last like
hurrah.
Going for it?
I don't know. I feel like that was a term we used in our house growing up. Hoorah.
Okay, now I need to look up.
Hoorah.
I feel like I need to go to the YouTube. Like, how do we say this?
Hoorah.
I'll say this is our last hurrah. But hoorah is a very specific way of saying that.
I'm just putting like my emphasis on the.
Yes, exactly.
Hoorah.
I like hoorah.
Hoorah.
Hurrah.
I don't know. I think that I am learning in my parenting now that there was like a lot of words that we said in our house that like were made up that I didn't know were not words. We just had house terms. Did you have any?
No, of course we pronounced everything correctly.
Can't really.
I grew up around 2 writers.
We
never played Scrabble because I was going to lose.
I went to state school. I don't know.
Oh, here, listen. Can we hear this? It's our last.
Hurrah.
I'm sorry. No. That's way too breathy for me.
It's very sexual.
Immediately no to that woman.
Maybe this
British English.
Oh, I love British English.
Hurrah. Hurrah.
Hurrah. I need to call my dad after this.
Hurrah. She's here at last. We waved our swords and hurrahed. They gave us a loud hurrah as we went by.
Downton Abbey.
And Vince's slowly but surely reconciled.
I'm fucking sorry. Goodbye. Hang up.
Okay, my main takeaway is that I think it's
hoorah.
Not hoorah, but I love this moment.
I don't know. That's just what I say.
We all just learned something, and then I think we should say like, that should have been our sign off this whole time.
Dumbass. Did you just
hoorah.
say hoorah? I don't know, did I? Our last big hoorah. Anyways,
Impressive.
Your joy is your family vacation.
Yeah. Hurrah.
Hoorah, bitch. No, it's going to be so good. That's so fun. Are you going for a full week? Or what is your...
Yeah, it's a whole week. We're going to go to Martha's Vineyard. And it's, as the youngest gets older, she's 4. And of course, we were sad that she's getting older. But I also, it makes life so much easier in many ways. Not always. Like vacations become closer a little bit to a vacation versus a trip with children and so much gear. Anyway, so that's my joy.
I love that.
And I guess my more existential joy is that we started a thing. And now, like any good child that we created, it's now going to be out there and it's going to grow on its own.
And then it's going to have kids and we're going to have to take care of it in like maybe 20 years.
Yeah, exactly. We're going to have to grandparent this thing.
Yes.
Yeah. Hoorah.
Oh, shut up. I love it.
That was the cutest. The sincerity. I'm such an asshole. I'm sorry.
I just am very confused and need to talk to my dad about it. I swear. He's going to be like, what are you talking about? I'm going to be like, you have dementia? Come on. Like, this is a thing.
I love it. Well, thank you for everything. You're crushing it. I hope you have some form of relaxing remainder of the summer. Great. And get even more sleep than you're having now.
Fuck yeah.
Go bathe in Fresca.
And coffee. Okay. Bye, everybody.
Amazing.
Thanks for listening.
Yes. Bye. Love you. Bye.
Love you.
Thank you so much for joining us. Please remember to like and subscribe so you don't miss an episode and we can reach even more rock stars like you. The Mothers is a production of Backline Media, shining a light on those who carry the team.